Should you mist orchids? Orchids are among the most enchanting plants in the gardening world, celebrated for their exquisite blooms, diverse forms, and adaptability as houseplants. Yet, their care often feels mysterious, particularly for beginners. One common query revolves around misting. Should you mist orchids? Some argue it's essential for replicating their natural humid environment, while others caution against it. Orchids belong to the Orchidaceae family, a diverse group of flowering plants with over 25,000 species. They originate from various habitats, ranging from tropical rainforests to arid climates. Most commonly cultivated orchids, like Phalaenopsis, Dendrobium, and Cattleya, are epiphytes. The tropical origins of orchids suggest they thrive in environments with high humidity, which often leads gardeners to consider misting. However, understanding their native conditions provides a clearer picture of whether misting is genuinely beneficial. Orchids naturally grow in humid environments, with ambient moisture levels often exceeding 70%. Misting can mimic these conditions, especially in dry climates or during winter months when indoor heating reduces air humidity. A light misting can increase the moisture available to orchids temporarily, helping them maintain hydration. In extreme heat, misting can act as a cooling mechanism. Orchids, like most plants, lose water through transpiration. Spraying a fine mist can help cool the leaves and reduce stress during unusually hot conditions. Orchids' broadleaves can collect dust, which inhibits photosynthesis and gas exchange. Misting serves as an occasional cleaning tool, gently rinsing away dirt and keeping foliage clean. While misting has its benefits, it is not without risks. Improper misting can harm orchids and compromise their health. Here's why misting might not always be a good idea. Orchids are particularly susceptible to diseases caused by excess moisture. Misting creates tiny water droplets on leaves, flowers, and roots. If water remains on the plant for prolonged periods, it can lead to fungal infections such as crown rot or bacterial leaf spot. Misting primarily affects the foliage and air roots, offering only surface-level hydration. Orchids absorb most of their water through their root systems, which require thorough but infrequent watering. Relying on misting alone may leave the plant underhydrated. In cooler environments, misting can inadvertently lower the temperature around the orchid. Wet leaves combined with cool air can stress the plant, slowing its growth and making it more vulnerable to disease. Tap water, often used for misting, contains minerals and chemicals like chlorine, which can accumulate on leaves and roots over time. This residue can damage sensitive orchids, particularly those accustomed to rainwater in their natural habitats. If you choose to mist your orchids, following proper techniques is crucial to maximize benefits while minimizing risks. A fine mist ensures water droplets are small enough to evaporate quickly, reducing the risk of fungal infections. Avoid saturating the plant or allowing water to pool in the crown or leaf axils. Misting early in the day gives orchids ample time to dry before nighttime. Wet foliage overnight creates a damp environment that encourages pathogens. Invest in a hygrometer to measure the humidity around your orchids. Aim for a relative humidity level of 50 to 70%. If the air is sufficiently humid, misting may not be necessary. Avoid tap water when misting. Instead, use filtered, distilled, or rainwater to prevent mineral buildup and leaf spotting. Flowers are especially sensitive to moisture. Misting blooms can shorten their lifespan and make them more susceptible to rot or spotting. For gardeners hesitant about misting or seeking more effective methods to maintain orchid health, there are several alternatives to consider. A humidifier is an excellent tool for maintaining consistent humidity levels without the risks associated with misting. Place the humidifier near your orchids to replicate their ideal growing conditions. Humidity trays are shallow containers filled with water and topped with pebbles. When orchids are placed on these trays, the evaporating water increases the surrounding humidity without directly wetting the plant. Orchids release moisture into the air through transpiration. Grouping several plants together can create a microclimate with higher humidity levels. Instead of relying on misting, focus on proper watering techniques. Water orchids thoroughly until excess drains out of the pot, then allow the roots to dry slightly before the next watering. Proper airflow is critical to preventing diseases. Use fans or open windows to ensure air circulates around your orchids, especially in humid conditions. Not all orchids have the same care needs, and their misting requirements can vary. For example, Phalaenopsis orchids. These popular orchids thrive in intermediate humidity levels. Misting is unnecessary if the ambient humidity is above 50%. Dendrobium orchids. These orchids prefer a drier environment between waterings and may benefit less from misting. Vanda orchids. Known for their large, exposed roots, Vandas may appreciate occasional misting, especially in very dry conditions, to prevent desiccation. Understanding the specific requirements of your orchid species helps determine whether misting will be beneficial or redundant. The decision to mist orchids ultimately depends on your growing conditions, orchid species, and personal gardening habits. Misting can be a useful tool in certain situations, such as combating low humidity or during extreme heat, but it is not a substitute for proper watering and environmental control. Misuse or over-reliance on misting can do more harm than good, leading to diseases and poor plant health. For most orchid enthusiasts, prioritizing consistent humidity, adequate watering, and proper airflow will yield better results than misting alone. If you do decide to mist, ensure you follow best practices to keep your orchids healthy and thriving. By tailoring your care to their natural needs, you can enjoy the beauty of orchids in your home for years to come.